Hi everyone, and thank you again for joining me on this fabulous Monday to create a fun layout using our July 2014 kit. So before filming this video, I did have an idea of what kind of layout I wanted to create as far as composition. So what I did is I went ahead and created this quick little layout on my silhouette just using some plain circles and placed them accordingly. And I had this pre-cut just to save time for the video. So it's really easy to do. You literally just go in and use the circle tool on the grid and then cut it out. So now I'm going to take an array of the patterns and colors that we have in our kit, and it's going to take me a minute here to flip through all of these because there's so many fun papers to choose from, and I'm going to decide which colors I want where, and I'm also going to tape down my layout just so it doesn't move for the filming of it. So these are the little leftover circles from when I actually cut the paper on the Silhouette Cameo, and I saved them just so I could kind of do a quick measurement on the patterned papers. And you always want to cut it a little bit bigger, and you know, I could have put these papers in my Silhouette and cut them, but I'm just not that fancy. I like to keep things simple and quick, so rough cutting it is perfectly fine with me. I don't like things perfect, but really you won't even be able to tell here in a few minutes when you guys see what kind of technique I use to put these on. So in my head I'm kind of like, wow, this paper's really white. I love white paper, but I was like, it needs some kind of, more structure, so a little more strength behind it, and it needs just a pop of color around the edge, so I'm just cutting off just a little bit around the edge here, and I'm actually going to add like a raspberry reddish type of a background just to kind of liven up that white cardstock that I'm really using as the paper. And I'm going to be cutting the label off the red one here in just a minute. I accidentally grabbed the wrong one, so I have to get the right paper that I actually haven't cut yet. And then I will be placing that behind the layout. Again, it just was too white for me, and I love using white paper because you can essentially make your own pattern cardstock with it. But I just felt I really needed that pop of color on this one, and I also chose this color because in the photo is this type of like reddy pink color, and for me, I don't like to match up colors perfectly. I just like tones and values of that color. I don't necessarily like matchy-matchy all the time. So this washi tape you see here, I'm just placing it so I can use this white sheet up and down and kind of place where I'm going to put these little pieces of patterns behind the white circles here. So I'm just kind of figuring out what other patterns I want to use, and I'm also going to need to add on to the top right some patterns and colors. So I got a little bit of everything. I've got some orange, blues, yellows, reds, and really I took a lot of these colors from the photo, whether it's in the background or of the main subject, you know, and like I said, I like to pull tones and values of the color. I don't necessarily like to be matchy-matchy. So this method was not working, so you're going to see what I do here in a minute, as I was like way off when I went to check. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take a very light Sharpie that's not gonna show up, and I'm gonna trace the circles just so I can actually see where to place these patterned papers on to the layout. So I've got a mixture here again, and I really like all these fun different patterns together. They really work well, and they just create for a visually fun layout, really. So then I'm checking if I like my colors here. I need to trace the other 3 now and figure out, I need to fix that green as well. Just a little bit too high there. So I'm figuring out what other patterns and colors I want and if I want to move any a little bit. And I felt those yellows might have been too close, and that's why I moved the blue one. And then I decide to do this simple polka dot of gray in the center. And then I'm choosing the wood grain as well as the orange for the top. And even though the wood grain is very light and similar to the white paper, I made sure I used the orange on the outside, so it kind of helped to also define that edge, and so the wood grain wouldn't blend in as much. So again, I just traced those and I'm kind of lining them up. I'm not looking for perfection. Really, anything is, as long as it's close, that's good enough for me. So I just cut off a little bit and go ahead and re-adhere that down a little bit better. And I really like these colors and the patterns that I've got. I've got a good array, and I think a lot of these colors kind of help even brighten up the photo. And this photo was taken in New York City, actually Times Square, in the store called Aeropostale, if I'm saying that right. And it's really cool because in the corner of the store they have this, and it's kind of almost like sectioned off. It's like behind a wall, and then behind it on the other side are all these crazy lights that you actually see from the street. And this store was like 2 or 3 stories tall, and in Florida we don't have that, so it was really cool. So this is definitely a fun photo that I wanted to document using this month's kit. So now's the fun part where everything's going to really start to come together, and I'm going to get to choose what embellishments I want and the placement of them, and basically all the finishing touches of the layout. And I really like that blue, but I needed a little pinch of orange as well to kind of bring out that pink again, because the blue kind of toned it down, I felt, which I took from the background colors, and then I feel like the orange helps to brighten the main focus, which was that pink Statue of Liberty. And so now I've got my photos matted there, my photo matted, and now is where I'm going to basically work around these circles using all different embellishments of all different sizes and shapes. So even though this kind of has a circle theme to it, I wanted to make sure I also use a lot of rectangular embellishments as well. So it still works within the circular composition, but as the layout is square, I think it's also important to pay attention to that element and add embellishments that also are with that, the size of the squareness of the paper, so to speak. So I've got my photo down, and I've got my NYC with the thickers, and then I'm taking these fun little Teresa Collin mini market stickers. I'm going to go ahead and write the month. And I don't usually do the month, but I thought it was important. I usually just do the year. Once in a while I'll actually do the day. I should more often, but these mini market little Teresa Collin letters were so cute, so I went ahead and put June. And then I'm just looking for a little stamp similar to like a date stamp, and this one says the story begins here, and I just stamped it in some Hero Arts gray that I got in a past kit. I always like to at least stamp 1 or 2 things on a layout if possible. And then of course, as I'm filming this layout, I can't find my Zig signature pin that I always use. That's amazing, so I had to find a different pen, and this one didn't work so well, but in the end of the layout I find a pen that will work when I go to journal. So now I'm going to be taking the 2 ephemera packs from Crepe Paper and October Afternoon, and I'm going to be just playing with these and placing them and seeing where I like them best. And I love this little road trip sign that you're going to see here in a minute, but I ended up taking it off only because this wasn't really a road trip. We actually flew there. I like to fly places. I don't like to drive that much because I drive so much for work that I really just prefer to fly. It's so much easier and it's usually cheaper in all the cases that I have flown anyways. So here I'm kind of just playing around, but that United States thing up there is actually, I'm going to save that for another project. But I do pull a few pieces from the ephemera pack to use for this layout, as it, you know, it just fits the theme with the whole vacation and traveling, and a lot of the colors work really nice. And I love that car. I made sure that car is going to be on this layout, and you'll see it in a little bit where it actually gets placed, because that car is just so cute. And we mostly walked everywhere, but we did take a few taxis. One night we went out, we took a taxi, and we took a taxi from JFK to Manhattan where we stayed, and then when we met up with family, they actually rented a car. They live in Union Square, but he rented a car for us, and we kind of got to go to New Jersey, so that was fun too. And then these are just Teresa Collins embellishments. As far as it has chipboard and buttons and all kinds of stuff. And I use quite a bit of pieces from the October Afternoon Daily Flash. These are chipboard, and I love chipboard because it just gives it more dimension. It adds a different texture to the project, and these are just, they're really fun. And it's just all about taking pictures, and that's exactly what I did in New York. I lugged around my camera everywhere, because I didn't want to miss anything. And although my phone takes pretty good photos, I mean, there's nothing like an actual camera, and since I bought that camera just for this trip, I wanted to make sure I used it. And then I think I completely forgot to tell you guys, but one day every day we took the metro, but we were walking through the metro station, and I was like changing the music or texting someone, and of course I dropped my phone. So my phone is kind of broken. It doesn't, the front camera doesn't work because it's cracked all on the screen, and so thank God I did have my good camera with me. And then these are also Teresa Collins little enamel pieces with pop dots and such. And I love that they're not pop dots, enamel dots. I love that this pack is not just enamel dots, and that it has hearts and little arrows as well, to kind of move your eye toward whatever you're trying to document or catch the viewer to see. It just makes it more fun, and I like different shapes. Again, it's all about the texture for me, and just adding something different that I don't already have on the layout. So I did like this flower, but I ended up taking it off. It just wasn't working for me. This wasn't either. Sometimes when I add so many things, like I don't know when to stop, and then I start kind of fiddling with what I have because I just want to keep adding. I just feel like you could never add enough, but at the same time, I'm a very simple person, so it doesn't really make sense. A little bit, I contradict myself, but I just love to layer and layer and layer, and I think that's my biggest thing is because I like to layer so much, I just don't know when to stop. So you'll see here the layout's going to be finished up rather quickly, coming to the end. I decided to take off the flower. I like this a lot better because it was epic. And then I'm going to add just a few more things because, again, I just can't help myself. There's so much to play with in this kit, and I want to add as much as I can on here. So then I add the little enamel dot. And now this background is still too white for me. So I'm just going to add some sprays that I have on hand from Heidi Swap and SEI. I really like the SEI tumble dye sprays. I get a lot of questions about those, but I'm using a mixture of both. Those two are Heidi Swap. And I'm just adding a hint of black to pull out the darkness from the photo in the car and that middle arrow down at the bottom circle. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more stamping again, just kind of at the bottom right. And I always practice stamp first, especially with these stamps. You never know if you're stamping upside down or not. Well, I don't. I've done that before, so I always practice it first. And then just a hint of that pinky bright orange color. And then I'm going to go look for a pen, because that pen I used earlier just was not working, and I have no idea where my normal pen went. And then I was going to try and add some different texture with the stamp around the edges, but I decided to not, because I didn't want to darken it, and no matter what color I use, it just wasn't quite the effect that I wanted. So again, this is why I always test my stamping first before I actually put it on the project. And it just didn't really give the effect that I was really looking for. So really the last thing I'm going to do now is just journal after I finally found a pen that would be decent. So I'm just going to journal and add a little bit of finishing touch around the edge. And my tip for this, if you like to also do this, is do all your little circles first. So I just add almost like little dots around the edge, and it's so much easier to do the dots first and then go in and add the lines and kind of turn the layout with you as you fill it in. So that's what I'm doing here. I pretty much have all my dots, and then I'm just going to fill in the lines now. And again, the reason I wanted this is I feel like it just finishes the layout off, and it picks up those darker colors that I did put in the layout, because this is just so bright. And again, I wanted to pull out every color in just the right amount. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed me making this layout, and I hope it inspires you to create with your July kit. And I will see you all next Monday.